I've been really inspired to develop a continuous improvement framework, partly from my experience working across manufacturing and engineering environments. That's where the majority of my career's been spent, and sort of prior to that as well, working in quite regulated environments. All of those environments have been quite highly systemised and compliance driven. Quality improvement is really embedded into everything that they do in those sectors, from quality, health and safety, performance. And it really struck me how powerful that mindset could be if it was to be applied to preventing workplace sexual harassment. Employers are already familiar with continuous improvement in their business. And it really is a structured methodology that has long-term credibility. I've been working with this framework within organisations for the past nearly 2 years now, and I've seen firsthand how it can integrate into wider organisational and internationally recognised standards as well, such as ISO accreditations. Most existing approaches rely really heavily on deterrence. So deterrence is sort of saying, don't do this or you'll face consequences. While deterrents are in place, they do not get to the root cause of why harassment happens and why sexual misconduct happens, nor do they shift organisational culture. Having policies on paper does not shift organisational culture. And we can see this reflected in society as well. With sexual assault and rape, the consequences are actually very, very low. As we've mentioned, a conviction rate of lower than 3% in England and Wales. So how could we ever try to rely on consequences as an effective prevention? It's just not a good strategy. So what I've also noticed is that often organisations approach harassment prevention, and especially sexual harassment, because it's a tricky subject, right? Either retrospectively after an incident has already occurred, or from a place of fear and compliance rather than from true prevention. I think it can feel a little bit stigmatised, a little bit daunting, and a little bit uncomfortable as well. So businesses often don't even know where to start to kind of have this conversation. And because of that, they either avoid the issue entirely, or they kind of fall back onto box-ticking exercises that are not sustainable and don't create meaningful change. And, being quite commercially driven, I hate to see any organisation sort of wasting money on training or learning solutions, frameworks, policies that aren't having any kind of tangible impact on their culture. A lot of these businesses will be familiar with PDCA, so Plan, Do, Check, Act, and the SEAS framework follows a very similar ethos. Really importantly, the framework is underpinned by statistical analysis tools that I've developed that take the temperature of the organisation, you could say. The outcome really should be that rather than approaching this topic reluctantly or reactively, organisations feel that they can embrace it with the same confidence and clarity that they would bring to any other sort of continuous improvement cycle or framework within their business. My sort of mission is not just to create impact through my own work, but to equip and empower others so that that impact can extend way beyond what I'm able to achieve as one single person and one small business. I've been using pre- and post-delivery assessments when delivering training, and this gives companies true insight into both the impact of their efforts and where gaps continue to persist. So that, again, it comes back to that commerciality as well. They're not going to be wasting money. We're not doing a refresher of the same tick box compliance focused training that people click speed times 2 on year after year. We all know, because we've all sat and done that kind of e-learning, right? But they're going to get insights that say your highest risk is actually because you've got a real issue with relational power dynamics within your business. So then when it comes to looking at prevention a year on, they can think, okay, we're really going to zone in on this relational power dynamics piece now. And what I would say is, although that this framework is really focused around sexual harassment, and that's what I'm predominantly using it for, it feeds into all different kinds of areas. How much more productive could a team be if they understood the impact of power dynamics? We look at victim blaming. So victim blaming is not something that is exclusive to sexual harassment or sexual violence. The term victim blaming was actually originally coined in the Black Rights Movement, so back in the 1960s. So a lot of the learning that we do and the way in which this framework can be applied is really broad, and it can have massive organisational impact.